All right, we're live.
All right, welcome everybody. The time is now 6:29. We are about 1 minute early for the June 2nd meeting of the Webster Select Board. We will start as usual with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Quick roll call. Illinois Chair of the Select Board.
Marlo Herrick.
John.
I always feel like that's a trick question.
Do you know who you are?
Well, you know.
Okay, so
days.
that moves us to meeting rules and procedures. We actually have a few people here. I don't expect it will be a problem, but we do typically do classroom rules, so please don't interrupt each other, and feel free to raise your hand at any point in time, even if you don't think we're opening up to public discussion. We usually try to. That brings us to announcements.
I have no announcements.
Okay.
I feel bad about that.
I don't remember the one that I thought I was going to make, though I will go over to our road agent and police chief. And are there any other roads besides Tyler that are closed currently?
No, not closed.
Okay, so Tyler Road is currently closed. There are plenty of messed up roads, whether you're in town or not in town. So be careful while you're driving, and if you see cones, avoid them, because there's probably no edge to that road. Thankfully, our roads have handled things pretty well comparatively, so hats off to our road agent, who will be up here later on for the department head portion. Any further announcements from any of our department chairs?
Yeah, June 10th, the fire department will be at the school for the kids to be sprayed. Our annual chicken barbecue, July 19th at 4:30 to 6, $15. And then we have a raffle going on as well. It will be drawn the day of the barbecue. So with the select board's permission, I'd like to leave some tickets with Russell. He's helped us in the past with that because it's easier for people to get them than to find us at the fire station. No, we didn't before, but I just figured that I would run that by.
I don't, but I'll ask the rest of the board. Any issue with that?
I don't have an issue.
Not a bit.
In the past, I've always asked to use the building, the safety building for the dinner, and it's always been good, but I just wanna follow through with that.
And unless anybody has an issue with, I think that's a fairly safe assumption.
Okay, no, if I ask and then I don't,
Absolutely.
I don't. So, other than that, thank you.
And since you mentioned raffle, what is the raffle for?
Well, the raffle's gonna be for a Ruger 308 rifle or a backpack blower or a $500. It's gonna be at the barn store, so you could take the $500 gift certificate or a backpack blower or the Ruger 308.
Nice. Something good for anybody.
Diversity in prizes, one might say.
What's
A
that?
diversity in prizes.
Well, some people
No,
might
it's
not want to do
Point
this,
made.
and then somebody, whatever,
That's a
and
lot of
then,
dog food too.
Not everybody wants the rifle.
right, somebody might take the gift certificate and buy
That's it.
$500 worth
Smart
of
move.
grain.
Yep, very good.
Or,
All right.
well,
Pellets. Or
Yeah.
pellets.
yeah,
Pellets
Oh,
too.
there you go.
yeah, anything, so, thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any further announcements? Okay, seeing none, that will move us on to our appointments, first of which is the treasurer and the investment policy.
I asked Therese to come in. The town's has a couple policies that need to be reviewed yearly. And the auditors pointed out that I hadn't done that, so now I have put a particular file to remind myself. Therese and I, work pretty closely together, and I invited her in because these are really policies that relate to her. I didn't see, and I'll let Therese speak too, but I didn't really see anything that needed to be changed
No,
in the policy.
yeah, I didn't either.
Yeah. We obviously, we have to go with the state law, we can't invest in pork bellies or, you know, land in Florida or anything like that. We have to go with what the law tells us, which are the public investment pool or federally insured bank. I don't know if you wanna mention about where the investments are and how that works with
Well,
SFSB.
our town accounts, the general operating and the impact fees are all with Franklin Savings Bank. And Franklin Savings Bank is chartered with the state of New Hampshire and it's federally chartered, so it meets the criteria of the RSA. And we have been getting a pretty steady rate of interest on all of our accounts. They've been like between 3.45% and currently the operating budget is at 3.40%. But the operating budget is under what they call the ICS process, where at the end of every day, the Franklin Savings Bank, our monies go out to different banks across the country because of.
So it's sweeps.
Right, it's a sweep, and because FDIC only insures for a max of $250,000. So anything over and above that is a risk of possibly, losing. So every day at the end of the day, it sweeps and goes out to different places across the country and then comes back in. And we earn a little bit more money each time depending on where they go to. So.
And we're satisfied the collateralization is safe. And in the past as well, the bank has given us, they assign a security that they own for us to protect our money right now. There are times a year that they're protecting quite a bit of money.
Yes.
And times a year not so much, but,
Yeah.
I remember going through these before. Do you know when the last time we reaffirmed them was?
June of '22.
22,
Yeah.
okay. And we went through them pretty thoroughly then.
You did,
so.
you did.
Mhm.
As exciting as they are.
Yes.
they-
Well, and not that, we looked to make sure nothing weird was in there, but there again, that that's not our, well, it's not my forte anyway.
Most of it's RSAs that have
Yeah.
gone through legal
Yeah.
and
That's what I'm trying to
others at
say.
the time, so
So.
I think we might have even sent it through Brinex.
Yes, yes, it's a boilerplate.
Mhm.
And the auditors had no comment that it wasn't, that there was
Yeah.
a problem with it.
So these are the RSA numbers in here, is what you're saying, correct?
Yeah,
Parts of it have RSAs listed in them.
Right.
For example, 356-4, which
Right.
is investment instruments.
Then we go into our policies, appendix A, and then RSA.
then it gives you a rundown of the duties of the treasurer.
Right.
Do you have a page for us to sign, or is this we make a motion and you note that it's, June 2nd?
I would be happy for you to make a motion and we'll rather than sign.
Okay.
We'll just-
So can I make a motion that the review of these procedures and policies plus the presentation by our treasurer this evening is effective and in full concept?
I would second reaffirming that.
The other one is the delegation of deposit authority. Do you wanna explain that
Well,
one? What that is?
All in favor?
Oh,
Aye.
I'm sorry.
I thought
No,
maybe
go
I was
ahead.
missing something.
Now you can-
I'm ready to go home now.
Okay, good.
Just a little correction.
Well, under the state RSA 41:29, for the town treasurers, there's a section that the treasurer can delegate people to make deposits. And these people are bonded, and we have delegated, we have a policy, again, that has to be reaffirmed, and our delegation for deposits policy is, again, it's a separate policy for the town, but it lists the individuals currently who are, we have a deputy treasurer, Brenda Silver, and the town administrator, Dana, town clerk, deputy town clerk, and
The collector.
the tax collector.
Yeah.
Yes, of course, yes, she can make deposits, so,
That's a good idea.
yeah. So that's all encompassing under that town treasurer RSA, but we have two separate policies that are,
We haven't seen a problem with that.
oh, no.
I think in all the time I've been here, I think I've made one deposit when someone brought in $15,000 at 3 o'clock on a Friday.
Yeah, no, everything is
Yeah.
really, it's, most of it's electronic, because we can deposit checks electronically, and I have to take them to the bank. So, yeah, so everything's been really,
And while you're here,
Wow.
Therese,
Mhm.
I'm just going to veer a little bit, but it does have to do with the treasurer.
Is it to do with this as well? or-
It isn't if you're ready, if you wanna vote on
All
that
right,
first.
do we have any other questions on this, or?
Very clear.
Okay, so I would move to reaffirm the delegation of deposit authority policy.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
We had, delayed payment of the school check because of our, cash flow. And I spoke with the school at the end of last week, and they also need cash flow. Their teachers have their salaries, those teachers that get paid a lump sum at the end of the year, so their payroll is going to be quite high. Soon I'll be giving you a request for a motion to withdraw money from trust funds that we have paid out from the general fund. I have also prepared, and this is something I never do, but I've prepared a check for the school so we can give it to them either tomorrow or Wednesday. And so I have that manifest for you to sign, and as soon as, actually, we have an excess of money in that now. However, when Paul is going to do the withdrawal tomorrow, if the board approves it, and then we'll be in good shape.
What if we don't?
And if you don't, I have to explain to the school.
Webster kids, out of here.
They're usually very good, in fact.
I was gonna say, it's not like haven't overcharged us in the past.
Yeah. They're usually very good about that. So, and Therese, I always bring Therese in on that so that everyone knows.
A lot of money.
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And the next payment's more.
So what, I know we normally do it at the end, but what are the funds that we're looking at pulling from trust funds?
I'm glad you asked.
Since we're talking about it, we might as well just do it.
That's such a great idea. Must be why you're chair.
Right. Let's see. So we've got bridge and culvert for the usuals, or looks like all of that is Clothespin Bridge. Fire department for Whitmer, I don't remember what that is. Atlantic Recycling for the transfer station, just those three.
Yeah, all the bills are attached if you had a question.
So, we do this, because I know you like to look through those at the same time, which is great. So I move to request the trustees of trust funds issue a check in the amount of $248,594.22, payable to the town of Webster to reimburse the town for expenses to be withdrawn from capital reserve funds and expendable trust funds as listed. To withdraw $219,774.40 from the Bridge and Culverts Capital Reserve Fund, and to withdraw $382.32 from the Fire Department Equipment ETF, and to withdraw $28,437.50 from the Webster Hopkinton Transfer Station Capital Reserve Fund.
Second that?
Sure.
Sorry, I was into what I was looking at.
If you're ready.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just
Okay.
kind of interesting, that's all.
All in favor?
Aye.
You can just
Right, thank you.
pass it all over when you're done.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming in, appreciate
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey,
it. We'll talk tomorrow, I'm sure, so
Okay.
don't leave town.
Thank you very much for what you do.
Oh, thank you.
We do appreciate it.
All right. So that moves us on to department heads, so come on down, gentlemen.
Night, honey.
I'll go. I saw that. So, as of, our last financial report on 5/22, we've used $128,399.20 from our 2025 budget. Have a remainder of 63.69%. We have plenty of cash in there. All the breakdowns on our calls for service and stuff are lacking just over a week because IMC service was down. Matter of fact, they just came back up this afternoon, so we got a lot that we gotta input to bring everything up to speed. But from the 1st to the 31st, we got 113 motor vehicle stops, 2 arrests with 4 charges. Summonses, $582.80. The officers handled 46 calls for service. And it's the typical calls we have every month. Department information received or disseminated, found property, juvenile issues, motor vehicle complaints, motor vehicle accidents, residential burglary alarms, road hazards, suspicious activities, suspicious vehicles, suspicious persons by your house. Assist to the fire department, EMS, vacant house checks, assist to other agencies, assist the citizens, animal complaints, and disturbance reported. So it was actually a short list this month compared to what it normally is. But that's because we're short 1 week, so that's 3 weeks worth. So, all in all, it was a fairly busy motor vehicle wise. And with more help, that really made a huge difference.
I was gonna ask with the type and number of calls, how much is that reflective of having more staff versus having more to handle?
Motor vehicle calls, I'd say, because we have more staff. So we're more people on the road, more hours, so we're running into more things that we normally wouldn't see. So that's made a huge difference. I mean, the average we were doing before was in the 50s, 50, 60 calls. And this is like in 1 full week and we had 113 stops. So there's a lot of motor vehicle.
Good.
That's what I got for you. How is the traffic committee doing? So the traffic committee, we gotta get together and find another person. We need 2 people.
Did you get the gentleman to do this?
And we haven't listed anybody yet.
Okay.
We gotta get somebody that's a private citizen in town, and we'd like to get somebody from one of the trucking companies that are here, because them guys are on the road all the time, and give us their input towards.
Well, can I make a recommendation?
Sure.
CMI has slowed their vehicles down very nicely since you spoke to them last summer.
CMI or GMI?
GMI, excuse me, GMI, well, yeah, thank you.
I just,
Thank you,
I
thank you.
guess I was just.
No,
thinking,
thank you.
"Who's
I thank
CMI?"
him for that.
They were going so
because he-
fast at the time, I didn't get it correct.
Yeah, right, yeah. Now you can tell it's a Jeep.
But the chief, well, you know, the chief did have a talk with them, I believe he stopped with 1 or 2 of them.
Emmett introduced him to the owner,
Okay, well, that's good.
so that made a huge talk, so I had a conversation with him.
And I'm gonna have further conversations as we go down the road with our board and others, you two included, probably yourself, about when we have contracts with these people, we're gonna have a safety clause in place. But you did speak with them, they've slowed down, I've noticed it this week, I don't know who you spoke to, the boss, or who you talked to.
I did, the boss.
Okay, but he apparently took action, so I'd like that word put back out there. It's nice to see them go by the house at the speed limit, so we don't have to worry about them coming up the road.
Well, they see us out there a lot more too,
That too, yeah.
so it makes a big
I
difference.
was
That's
gonna
it.
say, I noticed when I was coming back from the barn store that they were at the bottom of the hill, just before coming up towards your
Yep,
place.
yep, that's good.
That's where they pick up the speed coming down just to get to the hill.
Yeah, they've been working in Hopkinton.
No, it's been noticeable, so.
A lot of the traffic.
So you're still working, I guess, to go back, sorry, to go
We
back to
have,
my question.
Emmett and I have got together and talked on some of the roads that we think have the changes that we're looking for.
Mhm.
So I just wanna get the input from a citizen and somebody
Yeah.
from, we just gotta get somebody from a trucking company.
Yeah, I'm just thinking
One of
that
the
company
locals.
might be one of the go, just, you've got your own people, but that might be one of the go-tos since they have,
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I was
turn-
looking more for one of the local companies. I mean,
Yeah.
we got 3 logging companies
Yep.
in town. Get Marlo to get him in there.
what, you
What do
know,
you mean? I tell them go fast and
Not
get back.
pushing you.
No, sorry, John, just kidding.
not pushing you in any direction, I'm just
Not
saying,
at all.
it's very noticeable, and it's about time, so,
Good.
thank you.
Yep, and we'd like to be able to finish that off so that Emmett can put up the speed limit signs and so on and so forth. That
Yeah, we-
we believe are supposed to be there.
We worked on it for a couple hours the other day, it was raining, we got together and made a list of what we thought. And
Thought should be changed, either drop the speed limits, reduce some of the signs, especially some of the stop signs that I don't think we need.
Right, which we already voted on.
That's right.
It's
and
still
that's just
there.
it. You already voted on them, so
Yeah, one should be already gone.
actually 2.
2, okay.
Yeah, we'll put it in one thing, that way we can just affirm it and say, yes, we wanna do this, and then it'll all be official and on record, easily findable,
Good.
so.
Good.
When do you expect that next month we'll have that?
I'm hoping that we have everything done for next month. We gotta get our tails in gear and get people on board with us. As long as we can line somebody up to do it, we should go pretty quick.
Yeah, we'll put something together that we can,
Yep.
not that we are gonna tell you, but you're gonna tell us how we should do this.
What our suggestion
Yep,
is, and then
yep.
you guys are gonna make the decision.
Work with you.
All right,
Good.
sure.
All right, at the firehouse, 89 calls, for emergency services. We have had 2, pretty good accidents in town in the last month. One of them was one of them prime vehicles that deliver stuff, backed out in front of another vehicle, and the other vehicle, instead of broadsiding that, took a stone wall, and I see a lot more of that happening around because they're everywhere.
Yeah, no.
We went to Loudon on the 10th of the month for that 3rd alarm building fire that they had over there. We took the new tanker and hauled a lot of water that night. Last Wednesday, of course, was our meeting The Wednesday night before that, we had extrication training. Salisbury came down and worked with us with their tools. Had a good turnout from both departments on that. And then the Wednesday night before that, we had a stabilization class. That's why the 3 old cars that you see at the fire station are there. So there's still some meat left on them to practice on, so they'll be there for a little bit longer, and less, you get sick of looking at them.
Hey, as long as you're working with them.
So other than that, any questions for the firehouse? I did talk to Jeff, and he said that we'd get working on that agreement right off in the ambulance that he's been waiting for. Now is pushed out until the end of June. So that's the status on the ambulance.
Since we are here on fire, I'm going to jump ahead to one of the correspondence that I see in our packet that we got. And I'll just go ahead and read it for you. Dear Webster Select Board, a few weeks ago our garage and workshop caught fire. It was very stressful, never having experienced anything like this. Our fire department was amazing. They were there within minutes and had it under control quickly and stayed to make sure it was completely out. Emmett even came back later to check on it. They were assisted by surrounding towns, they believe 6, and we were so impressed and grateful. Denise and Pete Lawless. So kudos and good job. That's why we make sure that we fund our department and try to do things the right way.
And this is with the old tanker that you did this.
What's
This
that?
is with the old tanker that you did this, the previous tanker.
No, engine 2 did most of the work on that one.
Is that the new tanker?
No, the primary engine
Okay.
came in and,
Well, however it was done, it was done well.
yeah, it was, it's teamwork. It's not just one person, it's teamwork.
Well, and having backup.
Yeah, well,
Equipment.
that's teamwork. I mean,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
teamwork from,
No, I meant even backup. You've got, one tanker's not ready or this one.
oh, yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah,
important not just to
yeah.
rely on one,
yeah,
is all.
Because otherwise
I
it's
think that's
not
what John was
Yeah.
trying to make for a
Well,
point, am I
we
wrong?
talked about, and I might have misunderstood you, we talked about the new tanker going for service, the last meeting, and the old tanker was involved in the response. I thought this was the response, I was incorrect about that.
the new tanker might have been out getting
Right.
out of town.
Right.
Right, okay, I'm following you now,
I'm trying to
yeah.
be very positive.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that,
no, I
your
realize that,
decision-making,
yeah, yeah,
And if you heard me at the town meeting stand up and say,
Correct.
sometimes we need to let people make decisions of doing what they do.
Correct. correct, okay.
You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm
yeah,
trying to say?
Sure, sure,
All very positive.
yeah. Thank you.
When do you and Jeff think you're gonna have that agreement?
I gotta give him a call and, give him a,
I'm not trying to be pushy,
Yeah, no,
I just wanna get that.
yeah, yeah.
For that agreement, are you referring to the agreement to get the replacement ambulance from them, or are you talking about the ambulatory agreement?
The
between
ambulance to come to
towns?
town to take care of the folks.
Mutual aid agreement, right, which is, which we've talked about.
Yeah,
Cause I know we've been dealing with both of
Yeah.
those issues, so
yeah.
trying to figure out what the timing is for
Yep,
both.
gotcha.
Well, when we buy the new ambulance, we won't be buying that from the town of Kentucky. We'll be buying that from the place that it's being traded into.
Okay,
So, it's all being worked out with Jeff, but it's a done deal through, yeah. So the check won't be made out to the town of Hopkinton. It will be made out to the people at trade-in company.
The vendor.
Yeah. The way I
If you
take it.
had any leeway on the money, just so I could make sure that I plan for it. I know it sounds done. so,
Well,
but
this
I'm
was
just-
gonna happen a while ago, and then it was all supposed to happen, a done deal in March, in the beginning of April, and everybody's running behind, and then the other day it was the end of June, maybe.
And the plans are still for it to come out of the emergency apparatus fund?
Yeah,
Okay.
What's the plan for the old ambulance? I'm sure you have.
we're gonna put that out to auction, or, yeah, we don't, yeah.
And you can transport in the new one, correct?
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
More effective.
Yeah, more friendly, yeah, it's gonna be nice.
So I know I've met your paramedics and happened to bump into one of them at the dump, and he was telling me about the new, I plan on meeting people at the dump.
Yeah.
I happened to bump into him.
Yeah,
About bags and wing in the hopper, and he was quite positive about the new unit
yeah,
and how the transportation's capabilities and which.
Yeah. yeah, it's gonna be a lot better.
Okay, great.
Good. Anything further for fire?
So, on with the highway, I guess it was pretty quiet until it rained the other night, but, we got out and about during the rain and kept some of the ditches opened up. We had a lot of leaves, quite a crop of leaves last fall that fell, so the pipes were all pretty clean, but the ditches up further had leaves in them, so some of them would, but for the most part, some of the shoulders did get, worn back, but for the most part, we didn't take it that bad. We worked on Bashan Hollow and Garish today, we have that all back in shape. It was some nice to have a pile of 3-inch erosion stone at the pit that we crushed last fall to run around. We ran the loader down to the pit. The guy jumped in the 6-wheeler, and Russell was in the backhoe, and Susie was in one pickup, and I was in the other pickup, and Benny France was in the other pickup, and we just went around and made things happen, and Anna was in the cop car running around and checking on things as well. Jake in Little Army, and Matty Robley was working down on Tyler Road, and so the state got out there, so no one got hurt in that mess, through the storm. Had a lot of dead trees and ash trees in the roads you had to get out and throw out, and I was on Clough and Sandman and hit that culvert pipe, and a crash and a bang, and the wire that goes from the telephone pole to the house dropped. That all came down on everything, but it didn't break, so there was no arcing, but it, good for the economy, I guess.
So if everybody watched News 9, right? Plymouth, Warren area was supposed to get the mother load, right? So we were up there camping and one of the boys calls and says, we don't have any material over one of the culverts out back anymore. And we're like, what? Because, News 9 was a little off.
I would say we got the mother load by the look of 127.
That's what I mean, we seriously, because you,
Absolutely.
up there, and you got all that runoff in the mountains and stuff, and everything looked pretty good the next day.
Yeah.
So it was just interesting.
That was a mess.
You never know. Somebody said we have 4 inches, but, yeah.
I had
At
two,
least.
I had 2 3/4 inches at the farm, but I guess some other folks had a lot more, but
Yeah.
it,
Whatever, just amazing. So the roads actually did, like you said,
yeah.
fared fairly well,
Yeah, the
considering how
pipe-
fast and,
Oh, it came down.
yeah.
It came down, it really did.
Really hard.
I was on the phone with a buddy of mine in Chichester, and he said, the sun's out.
Weird. Anyways.
Well, it's good you jumped on it. That's
So
good.
anyways, we'll be out and about. I know Dana's gonna do an update on the bridge, but this has nothing to do with the fire or the highway, but I've been working on the bridge project with them folks, and last Thursday and Friday, we did backfill the Frost Lane side, and, engineer that they hired, that came out to do the compaction, to check the compaction every foot. So that took a little bit of time, but that side is all backfilled and all inspected and, ready to go. And then today, they were gonna dig a little bit more on the bottom side, but right now it's breached over the copper dam, so they didn't do a whole lot today there, so.
They probably weren't all that happy to see all that rain. Kinda stinks.
Especially after the dam had been letting it go at higher rates than previous for quite a while. But-
Do you think we'll see any kind of change order from that?
What do you mean? No, we're right on, I mean, Jim, the owner, has been in the excavator working with us there every day, and what a nice man he
Yeah.
is. The whole bunch of them are great bunch of people, but, Jim there, I've been getting to know him, and, he's right there and they're right on schedule.
What is the timeline, November?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just didn't know if I think that, didn't know if he's gonna need more material that he didn't account for because of all the rain. Okay.
I hope
Good.
not, and he hopes not,
Mhm.
but, I think it's August. I think the steel's coming in August because I'm working with the folks in on Frost Lane to, that day that the crane, because they need 2 cranes, one on each side. And then the folks won't be able to get in and out of there without them breaking the crane down every time a car comes. So when it gets a little bit closer, I'll get a date, but, been working with the folks in there, so get some heads up, so maybe we can make that all happen and they can bring their cars out. I might have to bring the side-by-side down to help somebody, but
Yeah.
to help them for that day.
Perfect.
Sounds good. I know it's a running topic, but, I know you folks have been also looking at what's gonna happen with the new sand and salt shed. Just to double check, is there anything that you need from us as the board in that process at this point, or are you still?
No,
going
we're
forward?
still, I've gone and looked at some stuff, different places, still gotta go. I haven't called the guy there yet. I've been working with a woman, she's came over to look at ours, she's gonna build one for a horse thing too, so I need to get a hold of the guy that put ours together and get that date set up, and I haven't done that yet, to be honest with you, but other than that, I think what we need to do, figure up our yardage, figure up what you need for roof to make that all happen, and, but I told you, I think I said the 4th of July would.
Yeah, I think you
meeting
said next month.
Would
so-
have something for you.
Yeah, just making sure that you didn't need anything
Yeah.
from us to make sure that.
Oh,
that can
believe me,
happen,
if I
so-
needed something, I'd be asking for it.
Sounds good. All right, anything further for our department heads?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Anything from our other department heads?
No, as far as,
Okay, just in general.
oh, well, we have lots of gems, but I won't bother
Okay.
you with it.
So that moves us, speaking of the bridge, to our old business, cash flow and bridge reimbursement updates.
Cash flow.
And I would agree with Emmett, the construction people have been really good, and have really, have not been a hitch with them, so let's hope it continues, they're great. As well as Wright Pierce, the engineering has done.
Yeah, I mean, last year, I mean, when Daniels did our box culvert over there, them guys were top notch, and I don't know how you guys picked them, but you did a good job.
Well, it was our sheer skill, Emmett.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well, they know what they're doing. Anyways.
Yeah. So I just wanted to give
Not their
you an
first rodeo.
he wanted to put me on as his top foreman, but I told him I couldn't.
We've been billed for the bridge so far about 28% of the total, which is just under $1 million. So it has affected our cash flow, as you may expect. I have not received any money from the state yet, but they tell me that they were behind and it's at least
Yeah,
30
yeah, I
days,
saw
so
that.
it's been
Yeah.
about that now, since my first request. And then, of course, the second and third bill,
Thank you for.
I went from a bill of 118,000 to 360,000, 2 bills for that. So,
Yeah, all night.
fortunately, the tax bills have gone out. And, so I think we're holding our own. I just got a bill in the mail today. And this goes through the engineers to check off on it, to make sure they certify it, for $340,000. So I just wanted to give you a heads up that right at the moment, we are tight. But it should get better. I've given Karen the orders to bring in a lot of money. And I hope that the state will loosen up. And you probably saw in your correspondence, the letter from the Secretary of Transportation that was forwarded through the DOT, basically telling you that you gotta go by the rules. And so I thought, well, okay.
I mean, we are.
We are, so it's like, I just thought it was an interesting letter. I think it's, the bridge is really exciting, but boy, those big figures are scary.
Yeah, right.
How far, I know we were pulling out of bridge and culverts before dipping into the other stuff. How far down have we gotten that at this point?
I have pretty much killed that account. We're a little less than 20,000 at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not that 20,000 is a lot compared to 400, but, or 300, whatever.
Well, I mean, it's not that it's not a lot of money, but it's still.
Well,
yeah.
comparatively.
Yeah.
But we did say that we were gonna fund that again this year, so I would encourage you to go ahead and use it, if it's needed.
And we did have, that's the other thing, that because you did vote at town meeting to fund this fund, we haven't funded anything yet. My biggest concern is, and I should have asked this while Emmett was here, we have $270,000 earmarked for highways, which we don't have right now to fund that. Maybe in a couple weeks, we will. We've sent out bills totaling over 2 million, so let's hope they're.
In your experience, how long does that take to come in? New to me here, so just asking.
You mean for taxes?
Educational question. How
To
long
be
does that-
paid, they usually come in fairly quickly.
Okay, so I know we would get our bills.
It's very interesting because I can just about tell you who's gonna be through the door first with their money. I can tell you who's gonna be last.
Right. No, that's exactly what I'm asking, yeah.
But it usually comes in pretty well,
Okay,
yeah.
what do you think, in a month, 30 days, 45 days?
I would say that the bill is due, July 2nd.
Right.
And there are some diehards that will wait until July 2nd, but usually that's a very
Yeah.
big day.
Every organization needs money to operate, and the community is no different.
Right.
So,
And I also should mention, since we're on the subject, July 2nd, you will be receiving a letter from the tax collector. Will be her last day, as she retires.
she's done an excellent job, as I think we say.
She has, and she's been tax collector for 15 years, and before that, like 18 or 19 as the assistant, as the deputy. So she's had a lot of years.
Career
in
with
this.
Webster.
Yeah, yeah.
And a definite thank you for that.
And she's really very, very good.
further you wanted to cover there?
Not under that, no, thanks.
Okay. That brings us to new business, which is temporary occupancy permit.
So this is for Julie and Richard Steele. Their house is just about complete, but they don't have their certificate of occupancy yet, so they're looking to move into their RV on the property and start moving stuff into the house while they wait for final inspection. And I've already contacted Emmett to set that up, so hopefully they'll get it in the next couple of weeks.
So is it that the house isn't finished and that they're waiting for a final inspection?
You wanna know what the holdup is?
Yeah, why,
Yeah, like 2 weeks.
Because Emmett needs to arrange the volunteer he goes with on the fire department to get their scheduling, so they can both go out together to do the inspection.
Why the 2 weeks?
That's generally how long it takes on average.
I caught some of that concept, but I wanna hear it a little clearer. These people are asking to live in a mobile home or an RV.
Or camper.
Camper, until their home is completed, right?
Well, their home is completed by what they have said here, they're ready for final inspection. So we're just.
So I'm
waiting
kinda
for-
with Marla and again, I'm not trying to be contradictory to you. Why are we waiting 2 weeks when we can get them in the home a lot quicker?
I gotta wait for the final inspection, we don't know if it's complete, that's part of the
And
problem.
who does that, Emmett?
So we have Emmett goes out and inspects it, and so does our building inspector, Tom Bay, and they go out separately.
Has Tom been yet? When's he scheduled to go?
I mean, if I called him, he'd do it tomorrow.
Well, let's,
Well, let me go on the flip side of the coin with this. I appreciate them putting this in, because there are other people in town.
Well, I was gonna say.
That have never done that,
I
and
don't
they're
know
still
about
living in the damn trailer, okay?
Yeah,
Excuse me for being so blunt, but, you know, when people, and again, I'm not hitting on you here, but when people do things like this to try and get in a home, it's important.
yeah, agreed,
You know, we're paying a building inspector, get out there and get it done.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
yeah. So
I
is,
will question because of the top of this, if this is, you know, it seems a little bit longer than what's at the top, but it says at the top that it can be occupied for 15 consecutive days in a year
Right.
without a permit. Like,
So
have
they don't
already
really
done
need a
that,
permit if
or-
it's, they haven't been on the site yet, they've been living at their old place, I think they're moving out of there in the process of that now. And they just needed that little extra time to get them from when they're moving out of their old place and to the new place.
Have you spoken to the building inspector?
Not yet.
Would you be kind enough to give him a call and say, I would.
That's what I
ask my
said.
colleagues here, that the
I
board
said the
would.
same thing.
Board would completely encourage when people follow the process, you know, cause I don't have to go too far to show you where there's a trailer and no permit.
Right. Like I said, if I call Tom, he'll get it done by the end of the week.
Yeah, I would appreciate that, I think my colleagues would, and hearing that from the board.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because as much as I would be fine with granting them the temporary occupancy permit.
And I am, I'm not.
I would also say that there shouldn't be a need, considering they're allowed to do it for 15 days anyway, and the house
Right.
is already done.
Well, originally, when they proposed this to me on the phone, they wanted to move into the house without the certificate of occupancy temporarily while they started. I'm like, that's gotta go through the board to
And
get that
you're
permission.
trying to do your job, and
Right.
all I'm saying is, I'm gonna say it publicly. A lot of people that voted for me and came to me here and said, I don't wanna see the I don't wanna see you to be part of the kick the can down the road concept. And I know I've talked to my colleagues sitting with me here, and I'm not blaming you for that, but I think the more we work with people that do the correct permitting, that do the correct thing, it's much more positive for the community. And I mean, I'm with Dave, you know, if they can have 15 days or whatever, and then they come back to you and say, you know, we can't get in, you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah.
But they're doing the process, and I think we
Right.
need to reward people, not being critical, but we need to reward people for following their process.
Russ, does this require, in addition to the building inspector?
The fire chief
fire
also has to
department?
sign off on it.
Okay, well.
But I bet you, I don't see why he wouldn't, I mean, be able to, I don't see why they shouldn't be able to be out there in the next couple days, but, I mean, I wish that Emmett was here, because I'd ask him that question, 'cause I
Let
think
let me
that's.
float this to the board, because they're allowed to do this for 15 days without even having any permit. For the sake of just keeping things easy, since it should be done by then, can we make sure that it is happening, and if not, then see this again to sign it at our next meeting? Because that's 2 weeks from now, so 14 days.
It should be done.
I'm great with that concept, I mean, I think it's.
And I think
Not to
reassure
kick
them
the
that
can
that's not
down
gonna
the
be a
road.
problem.
No, but I mean.
Try not to make them do
these
extra
people
steps.
come
I'm fairly
forward, do
certain
the
it
process,
should
Exactly.
And
be
we sit here
done.
and can't
Exactly.
do nothing, I mean, that's, you know,
Well, and they're probably a little gun shy because they had to redo their driveway.
I'm all, I'm all,
That was
yeah,
a little
I'm all in
interesting,
favor, you know, as long as we see the paperwork and we're making efforts to do the process, I'm highly supportive of that.
You got it.
Okay, I'll let them know.
To answer Dave's question.
Yeah. So, I mean.
And
if-
thank them.
If the board wants to do it
Yes.
now, that's fine,
Yeah.
if the board likes it.
I mean, the
then-
only reason I would suggest to do it now is to not make these people worry. If they're worry warts, like I can be at times, I mean,
Fair.
like, can you just sign it just in case? I mean, what if,
Well,
what if
can we
somebody
do- can we
goes
do
in?
that? That's a really
Yeah,
good point.
yeah.
I mean, I'm
Hey,
happy to
what if
sign
they
it.
go in there and they say, oh, well, the detective, I don't know what would fail it,
Well,
but,
you just make a motion and I'll let.
I'll make a
Yeah.
motion.
Yeah, and it's only until
That
September
we-
that they're asking.
We
so-
agree to this, and if they have, let me just word this appropriately. We support this, we agree to it, and if other complications come in between it, they contact you and you bring it to us as soon as you can, and we'll review it, but we support them for coming forward and doing this. That's my motion. And we'll approve it.
yeah,
Second?
second.
No, she can second.
Or
All
you
in
can.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you wanna talk about that?
So this has been a follow-up for a letter that was sent previously for one of the issues in town. There was the friendly letter. This is a slightly, there's been no response. This is a slightly more formal letter.
I thought it was kind of looking a little bit,
Russ, how many letters do we need to send?
For,
Is that per our legal counsel?
no, this is not per our legal counsel. This is the start of saying, please contact us to help us develop a plan to remediate the action. And if you don't, we are gonna contact legal counsel and do
Okay.
something.
Yeah, so this one specifically says the 30 days, which starts the legal countdown.
Okay,
Whereas
This is us
previously,
asking
I think
nicely
it was
one
a
more
nice
time.
letter.
okay. I didn't know if we needed to send another one when the 30-day one isn't,
Though,
because I,
the attorney's gonna have me when I contact him, if they blow by this one, with a very formal process, and he'll draft letters and then.
you know, I
focus
keep
anything
saying
he said.
mediation, mediation, mediation. I'm looking at the camera when we do that. I know you try to do that. Somebody's gonna have to go to court.
Yeah,
You know, I hope that they take heed to this and do it. You know,
So that they don't have to.
I don't wanna take, I don't wanna see that. Thank you.
God, I look boring. I'm in my hood.
I won't tell you how I learned how to sign that signature.
Do we have anything else in, I guess, permits and applications then, for new business?
that is it. I think we have correspondence.
Yes, I believe there is a couple pieces of correspondence. A couple have been mentioned already. For example, the letter to us about the fire department. The one from the Secretary of Transportation, that you mentioned about the bridge.
We have the estimate from the school district for the new
Oh, yes.
and improved payments per month, starting in July. $344,868.20.
Now, what has it been currently?
The last one we just paid was $265,171, but last year we started out at $338. And what happens midway through the year, the Department of Education releases how much they're gonna put into the mix, which changes the.
So 338 to 344 is somewhat equal footing.
I thought it was interesting, and maybe I shouldn't say this in public, but after a couple years ago, when we got the wrong figure, I decided, I'll check this. And the state education was easy to come, because I have a letter from the DRA, and I called DRA because I didn't know how it had been calculated. So I wish that the school could provide some sort of calculation. I'm not criticizing them right now, they're in a bad spot, but, but that figure seemed to me about what it should be.
Educate me, if you would. Is this for the Webster school, or is this our payment toward the total district?
That would be the total district payment.
Why, if I'm off the wall here, you feel free to tell me, because I've been told that before. Why don't we get a breakdown of what we're paying for?
And that's exactly what I was kinda just saying, yeah.
I would request that next time. I don't know if my board members feel here, if they
So-
disagree with me.
Maybe this will help.
They will give it to you.
I'll give you the
Yeah.
short version of how the school system and its funding works. There's of course the budget, which, there was the news that they went over, and then there was the voted change and
Hence why
stuff.
I'm going down this highway.
There's the budget. And in that budget, they also have projected revenues, much like we do. Their projected revenues that they display are the ones before they start taxing us. Once they get to, this is what's left over, and they're doing the tax process, there are two buckets. One bucket is like capital improvements, capital costs, like putting in a new wing on a building or something of that nature. And the other operating costs, like salaries and such. The capital costs are paid for based on the equalized values of the towns, and so they pay, that portion, it comes from that split amongst the towns. The operating portion comes based on the per pupil. So the more students we have and the less students someone else has, the more that ratio changes. So if we put more students into the school system,
This little school across the street.
any of the school system,
Or
high
high
school.
school with the upper.
high school,
upper
middle
level
school,
students.
this one,
Right, okay.
if someone is living near Salisbury and
Yep.
sends there, or off to, like, whatever,
Mm-hmm.
as long as it's in the school district, and enrolled from Webster,
Mm-hmm.
that counts as a head count, and we pay towards that, and that head count is divided out as well. And so you have per pupil, which is done out, and then you have capital costs, which is
Per-
done out by tax value.
Per pupil isn't even listed here.
Correct. They don't ever list any of it really here.
But you see my concept?
Yes.
Okay. I'm very much, having taught in the university system, I'm very much a supporter of higher education, very much a supporter of special needs students and everything we need to do to make a student successful. But I've heard a lot about the Merrimack Valley School District. I'm not educated on it. I'm gonna get myself educated on it. I know you've been very active with it, I think, from what I hear. But I think a better breakdown and knowing what we're paying as taxpayers, the $3,800 I'm gonna bring down here, go through the door hopefully within the next week for Dana. I'd like to know what we're paying per student, and I think that's a valid reasonability when they send in the bill. I mean, I let my pen quivered when I signed my name to that, because I've had people approach me, and I'm not that not educated on the
Education.
regional education system. I need to get more educated on, because I have some, I think, and those questions are wrong. You've got an audience here. If I'm off the wall, we work for the taxpayers, tell me. But I think what I'm asking is not unreasonable.
I think if I contact the superintendent's office, I could get that information.
Yeah, they should be able to provide it. Randy has often had some of those formulas in the spreadsheets that he uses for estimating tax impacts when they come out with their budgets. So we should definitely be able to get that from them. It's not like it's a foreign or hard concept. Like they're just using a standard formula, but we should have that and the backup to that.
Right, I think what muddies the waters a little bit is the state education portion,
And,
when that
yes,
starts.
Knowing how much they will actually kick in
Right,
or not,
right.
but
Well, that
yes.
that's a very good point.
But I'm
What-
sure
what's
that he
contribution?
could tell you how he came to that figure.
I'd like to know.
Okay,
Um,
we can do that.
Don't take that personally.
I will point out that,
No. I appreciate signing off on things, but I think we'd like to.
I'm certainly not throwing them under the bus, but one of our, I believe, our longer standing Webster representative to the school board either has been or is on their budget committee and should be able to answer those sorts of things. And I would love to invite them in to discuss it and kind of train all of us.
Took the words right out of my mouth,
So
thank
that,
you.
Are we talking about Mr. Nesbitt?
no, he's the newest member.
He's the newest, okay.
Yeah.
Dave's,
I'm blanking on her name now.
she was on the
Melissa.
hazardous mitigation committee.
Melissa.
Yes.
somebody. Yeah,
Mhm.
no, I should know her name.
And Muzzy.
Muzzy, yeah.
But yeah, we should invite her into a
Okay.
meeting at some point to explain it and, you know, and certainly the chair of the school board as well, and or the current assistant superintendent, who will be the new superintendent after the end of next school year, which they voted at last month.
It's an enormous budget. I have to admit, I'm not as well educated on it as I should be.
Okay, I'll
That's-
probably
that's
have
my
to give
fault.
them some time to get this together.
Oh,
In
yes.
the meantime, I will get the figures, the immediate
Those
figures.
numbers, yeah, those direct numbers, and the contribution, I think as Marla said.
Okay.
What's the state contribution? And, you know, if they're building something over here and students need the money for better education over here, I think that's where we step into that
Mhm.
factor and say, okay, do we need this building versus special needs education over here? You know what I'm trying to say? I mean, I think the citizenry has an opportunity here to,
I think that would be a
To
great
shift,
discussion with.
you know, yeah. Oh, I know it will.
Yeah.
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 Mhm.
So, the next item was the perambulation. You had a professional perambulator go out.
Right.
Check this out. I was embarrassed at how heavy I looked.
Oh, jeez. You should
Did you have
have
a
Charlie,
compass?
get my good side, would you please?
Did they give you a compass, or did you have a bloodhound?
Charlie Niebling from Boscawen really did the yeoman's work on this, and he's a forester, so he really is familiar. There was one bound, and we did not go down to it. He couldn't find it when he had gone, because it's underwater somewhere over in Muzzy Road. And
You didn't bring your scuba
I didn't
stuff?
sign up for that.
Yeah.
But, so it was very interesting, interesting process. So Boscawen is complete.
Did you enjoy it? I mean,
Oh, yeah.
knowledgeable education?
Yeah, I like that stuff.
Good.
Yeah. I didn't help him much, but I enjoyed it. Yeah.
All right. Do we have further correspondence?
We had a correspondence from, and this is kind of a, one that I'm gonna need your guidance, but it was a correspondence from you regarding your, is it your property marker?
Yes.
Your
The
boundary marker?
boundary markers,
Yeah.
the granite.
And it got
boundary
hit
marker.
by the mower,
Yes,
and it broke.
yeah, when they were doing the roadside mowing.
Okay, so I guess,
I mean, obviously the packet's older, I don't know if they have one in theirs, but,
no, they don't.
Okay.
They don't. So this was the correspondence that came on that.
A little cement there.
short version, we know that it got broke when the mower was going by, and since I'm pretty sure it's illegal for me to do anything with my boundary marker, we'd like to have a surveyor come out and take care of that.
But did it move?
Not that I'm aware of.
Yeah.
I mean, if a surveyor sends us a like notified letter that, hey, just cemented or something, I mean, but the seal and stuff is on the part that can technically.
Well, here's the
now be
problem
moved
with
and
this,
stuff, so.
okay? After sitting in court, as many of you know I do,
Mhm.
and listening to both criminal and civil cases day after day after day after day. Boundary markers are important points in someone's land,
Correct.
and
That's why I don't wanna touch it.
it's not so much you, but it's when you sell the house, and the next person comes in, and they get in a hissing contest with the neighbor next door, and, well, the tractor hit it, so was it moved 20 feet over that, you know? I hear what Marlo's saying. Is there any way you can have, what, it's your boundary marker, what can you tell the two of us, so we can help Dana here and Russ, on, have you asked somebody to take a look at it? What is lawful and legal civilly to take a look at it? Have you gone down that path? So I think it needs to be fixed or re-put, but can that be done effectively, or do you have to have a surveyor come in and survey the whole property, or just this point with the land here? 2 point, you know what I'm saying, the apex.
I'm gonna point to Russ here for more recent training than I've had for hard road
Well, he's
travel
trained me,
and
so let's
such,
not get him
but,
too confused.
So generally, I would say they don't have to survey the whole property.
yeah,
Okay.
it should just be the
They
point.
could be able to do the point or just the line that the point is
Triangulate
on.
it, triangulate
And
it.
figure out where it is from where the other boundary.
So I'm gonna make a motion, being that of no fault, please hear me.
Mhm.
An accident happened, but we as a town were part of that process, that we work with Dana and Russ, or Dana and Russ work with you to retriangulate that certain point right there, and then maybe estimates.
We can get you some estimates on how much we're looking
You know
at.
what I'm trying to say? So
Yes, I
somebody-
think I
Somebody says, oh, it's a town,
Yeah.
well, let's, you know, I think there's probably a surveyor or two out there, I think it's
Right.
reasonable, I think it's a reasonable request, but not to show a board
Yeah.
member, because if it was my property, I'd be getting up and sitting out there and saying the same thing. Marlo, I'm always,
That's why I'm not saying like, I wanna go use this person, I'm like, I just.
No, I know
somebody
what you're
to-
saying.
Yeah.
but it's a broken marker, and I can
Right.
see where that can be a problem down the road.
Mhm.
Yeah, if that's just,
Cause, yeah, if I touch it, then it's not
Don't
an
touch it.
official market.
Okay, we can
how's my
do that
other
up.
colleague feel about this?
Well, you guys are good rule followers, so it sounds good to me.
Well, I
Because I think of when we try to find bounds, sometimes you got
Anybody in
the,
this audience came up and asked the
Yeah.
same question, I
Yeah.
said it needs to be
Yeah.
retriangulated and placed.
well, like thinking you have a little bit of history of being part of cases, you know, where my history. was-
Fortunately, not part of them, just. a
No,
good
well,
listener.
no, or listening, right, sorry.
Just a
wrong-
good listener.
Wrong language, but, you know, I know boundaries, and town
You would not-
maps and tax,
Yep.
they're not
And,
yay, so,
You would
so.
not believe the issues, the fisticuffs, the gun pointing, oh, it's unbelievable.
and we have heard in the past year and a half or so, at least, issues where people have markers in different places
Yep.
in town.
I'm
So-
thinking of you, I mean, I had a problem, and thanks to Russ, he's helped me here recently. Not with my current neighbors, I got great neighbors, but I had a problem with a previous neighbor who planted a trailer right on my property. And I didn't realize it was my property until somebody pointed it out to me. So I'm just trying to be, you know what I'm trying to say? Listening to it, seeing it, and investigating them from time to time where people have committed crimes over landmarkers.
Fortunately,
I get
it's
it.
easy because it's the granite marker that's closest to the road, but, yes.
Sorry to be so elongated, but it's,
Are you sure it's not a perambulation mark?
Well, you're welcome to come take a look just to make sure.
That's right, I am the,
Dean's got a question, go ahead.
Yes,
It's on a road, it's on the roadside, right?
yes, it's on the roadside of Clothespin Bridge.
Not from experience personally or knowledge, but normally they would be able to take like, find some of Mike Jetty's and someone else, at least 3 points.
Yeah.
To locate that without doing the full process.
I was using the term triangulate, was that the correct term?
Excuse me?
3-point triangulate.
Exactly, you know.
Yeah.
and
That's kind of what I'm, you stand
Best
with.
portion about it, it's on the road.
Yeah, you're
So
right.
it should be easy to get a couple of
Yeah.
mics for the
And
next.
it's still embedded, so unless
Yeah.
they think that it's incorrect, it's replacing it as opposed to refining it.
Hopefully not
but-
raise other issues, yeah.
Yes,
so we should have Russ get an estimate from a surveyor and on, I love that word, triangulate.
I got a couple people I can think of. that have
Triangulate the
numbers.
cornerstone of the market.
Yeah.
And I'm definitely not a surveyor, I'm just a dumb cop, so.
Okay.
and I'm trying not to say too much because it's my property.
Well, as I
That's probably
said,
a good
you
idea.
heard me say if it was one of our citizens or one that's not here and came up, and it happens, damage happens. And, you know,
I mean, my only thought, and just saying, I'm just throwing this out here, is it's still implanted in the ground, like if the whole thing was leaned over and it just wasn't broken, I may,
Russ and I could go over and pick it up.
well, you see what I'm saying? But I understand where you guys are
Also-
coming from, but in my mind, I think, well, I
Ask
mean,
for
you know, you would see
recommendations
it,
from
it
what
would
they
be,
Can I
it
say
would be
something to you?
moved,
I completely agree with you,
yeah.
and I would have done that 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But I've had the unfortunate
I
opportunity.
know, right?
of having
It's
a
the
very-
knowledge that kills us
Well, it's
sometimes,
not-
John.
No, it's just, some days you float in the water and you realize
Oh, yeah.
it's dirty. And all I'm saying to you is I have a very good friend who spent millions of dollars on redoing a house on Lake Sunapee, and he wakes up one Memorial Day weekend without a dock. The next day he wakes up and there's a dock with 2 boats hooked to it. And he ended up having to sell the house. And I've sat in those court hearings about where these markers are. And
Scary, is what you're trying to say.
and you and I, you and I
Yeah.
will go on to be senior citizens and go down the
Yeah.
road, and some poor young couple will come in there and sell the house. And some remember, Jesus, some tractor hit that marker. It must have gone down the road.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the stories are unbelievable.
Yeah,
I just don't put trust in any of that.
no.
No, I mean, again, I'm not trying to.
And us as a town are require that, where a lot of towns
Well-
are those pins and a rock underneath like 10 feet of leaves, and those
Right,
are always fun
right.
to
Well,
find.
those are our older markers, anything newer has to be.
Well, right, but yet, that's what I'm
I'm
saying.
publicly stated, I'm not taking any negativity on how accidents happen. It could easily happen to any one of us. You go off the road and hit it with a car, but you know what I'm saying? I like that
Cautious.
perfection. I like that
Yes.
perfection.
Yes. Got my cautious boys over here.
We have direction, so we'll,
Sometimes you just need that help. You know? Kidding,
I know.
kidding.
Do we have any further correspondence?
that's all I have.
Okay.
Can I ask a question? Russ, don't throw your computer at me. What are we hearing from the folks at Verizon? Still being ignored?
Oh, man. So the newest thing that they're doing to me is that they're saying that it's not the wireless server, that it's an issue with all our phones.
Okay, well, that's great, but you know something? We're paying a lot of money for all our phones, and we wanna know what the problem is. So would you do me a favor? Go back to them and ask them again to have a representative come and sit before us.
Yep.
So we as a community, and maybe someone from the school, can sit here and talk, and I'll go public on this now, as to why in this area, and up the road and across the street, we can't get out on the Verizon phone. I'm sick of sitting in my Jeep in my dooryard making phone calls. Unnecessarily incompetent.
When were they supposed to finish the Verizon upgrade on top of the?
I don't know.
But I appreciate you doing what you're doing, but I like something.
Well, I had called customer service, talked to somebody, said what I wanted, and this is their response.
That's not a good
back to
answer.
me. No,
That's-
it isn't a good answer. I was
It's
upset with
not
it.
a good answer. Feel free to say a board member said not a good answer.
Yeah.
The board says not a good answer. Please come and join us. Not to be, I'm sorry, I don't mean to hit on you every time with this thing, but
No,
I know you're gonna throw that computer at me someday.
no, it's fine.
I'll try and catch it if I see
Thank
it
you.
going.
Dave's gonna get it.
That's all right. I get a second computer.
All right. I know I nag on it, but it's total incompetence. You've got a major international phone company, and he can't answer a question.
And I even spiced it up by saying, the town would like to work with you on figuring out what we need to
Well, I'm sure
improve
you're
the
very polite to
infrastructure.
him, yeah.
Not even a response. They don't care.
Well, they'll care when there's a serious incident, and their phones are involved in it.
Yeah, because,
Don't try to call
correct me
my
if I'm
phone
wrong,
out.
but don't we pay extra to them for the priority service for first responders?
Well, that's another good question. Maybe I would ask Steve and Emmett to be with us when we have that conversation, due to fairness, because I think they're AT&T, because they couldn't get anything
Okay.
on Verizon either.
That makes sense.
And the AT&T, they're working off AT&T tellus. But when I sit there and point that phone at Pearson Hill, or I point it at Mount Kearsarge, and I get 2 bars on the Verizon phone, or SOS only. And all around the state, that phone works, so. Yeah, I'm just, I just can't believe the lack of responsibility, publicly said, and them not responding to us, to come here as a community. Sorry to be so.
I have to drive to the intersection in Salisbury before my phone will work.
Then my
After
phone won't
Route
work
4,
until
yeah.
right until I get it
Yeah.
out over the bridge, and then my phone.
Well,
starts
my
working.
wife flies,
Are
I
you
mean,
Verizon too?
Yeah,
Yeah, see, I'm either you or Celia,
yeah.
and I have better luck.
my wife flies, and I'm in the home alone, not that I'm gonna hopefully fall down the stairs. Maybe, but I could. Anything could happen. And I can't get out of my home, but I can get out of anybody else's home 6 miles down the road, yeah, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
All right.
Okay?
So since we did not have more correspondence, Before we move on to other motions and approvals, we schedule public comment. So is there anything that you'd like to say?
I would, and I don't know if it's open, I just thought you guys all together, I could ask the question and have it answered quickly. It's 3 questions about the Blackwater Dam, or 3 things about the Blackwater Dam. I saw, and I didn't even get to read the article, but I saw an article that there was something going on with the Blackwater Dam and recreational.
I think they're redoing their
They're redoing their master plan.
Master plan.
Right,
State.
but this was
Yeah.
something else. This was a Hopkinton and something, there was 3 things. One is to do with the
Master plan.
resurveying and that master plan. And then one was they're having a recreational facility or area, and I just wondered how involved the select people or the town is in knowing what's going on with that. Because we border we have quite a bit of land on the Blackwater.
So there has been a recreational facility there.
But they
Yeah.
were redoing, and it was done in April. This was all
They had-
in the Concord Monitor in April, but I didn't really even get to see it. So I just wondered what was going on and about the resurveying, because I think some of the surveying is interesting, and if they've changed boundaries and how they have, I'd like to know, because Little Hill goes down and drops into the floodplain, and the new people that are moving up there, their boundaries are kind of right there on the Salisbury. It's just all very, I just wonder. And then the third thing that I wanted to bring up was, and it's probably just nothing, but when the dam was built in the 40s, and I wasn't born yet, but I grew up here, and so over the years I know, and my grandfather and father and were very active in all of this, because we live on Little Hill and the floodplains and so on. But they said that the people in Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts, and down below us, were going to pay the town of Webster money because we were holding back, and we had given
Took
up all of
taxable
our
property.
land, all of our taxable land, that you could be collecting taxes and money on.
It's not about your age, because that conversation, I mean that tongue in cheek, that conversation has been had several times at town meetings, and I'll ask my 2 colleagues here, I think Dave might remember, and Marlo, you might.
Yeah.
That's been had at town meetings
Okay.
in the past 10 or 15 years. And there's some payment. George Cummings is the person who knows a lot about that. And Dave, I don't know, maybe you,
Yeah, so I'm just trying to pull up from our budget worksheet what
We do
we
Yeah.
receive
are
the
dealing
stipend.
with.
Money.
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if there could be a rethinking of it again, because we have been out all that money all that time, and if they're gonna be redoing the boundaries and redoing all this stuff, I think it's an appropriate time, redoing the master plan, that it's an appropriate time to think about, instead of taking money away from us, or,
what boundaries are you hearing they're redoing? In Webster or in Hopkins?
Is it the wetlands you're talking about? Is
the,
that your
flood
map?
control area.
Yeah.
we live
Flood,
on
yeah.
Little Hill,
Right, right.
Yeah.
I think they were redoing the master plan
of everything.
of the floodplains themselves.
They already did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so one of the things that, I think I remember the article that you're talking about, and they did mention the 3 different floodplains in different towns.
Right, exactly.
Because they were looking at them all together.
April something.
And as far as I'm aware, but please check with ours, they're not looking at changing like the boundary markers of our control area. To the point, just looking in our budget worksheets, over the past several years, from 2022 through 2024, we've gotten anywhere between $33,000 and $37,000 per year from Massachusetts.
Oh, we do?
Yeah.
Yay,
Okay,
that's all I was.
but that's a good question.
And
You have.
so we do get those. It does vary a bit each year. I'm not completely sure of how and why it varies. And there's another something that we also get paid from them for, like, I think it's from forests or
It's a
forest land
forest
reimbursement
related,
or
yeah,
something, but
forest and
that's
land.
not very
Okay.
large.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and
Very good question.
But yes,
is
so we
there
do
some place
get
I
something.
can look to be educated on this? I'd like to,
The-
because,
The best place for the master plan and all of that, they did hold a public hearing here, and they put out a bunch of documents. The current master plan is available, and they are, I think still, but maybe it's just ended or about to end, accepting comment on what people want to do with the master plan, as they're looking to update it. The thing I will note there, that they were very clear about in their presentation, is that the existing master plan is not only the locations and kind of like what they want to do, for example, the recreational facility that's been there, but also the maintenance of things and how they maintain the dam and the recreational facilities and so on. In the new plan, that's actually different. That's an operational plan, so that won't be part of the new master plan. But they are looking for comments. They will then come back with a draft new master plan and then take public comments again on that draft before coming up with what they believe is the final.
where do I
and-
get in touch with that?
We should have those documents from when we hosted them.
I can
I'm
connect
sure
you
our
with them,
administration
Robert.
can get that
Yeah.
to you and the links. I don't have it at my fingertips, but,
Okay.
yeah, we can definitely make sure you get that.
Where's that $37,000 go into the general budget?
It goes into our general
Okay,
revenue
good.
budget.
No, that's a great
Is
question.
that something that can be upgraded? I mean, $37,000 then is not $37,000 now, and the value of the land and the value of the
Well, like in
protection.
2022, it was 32.
Part of that question
In
was,
2022, it was 32,000.
Oh, so it is-
it has generally increased.
why do we, I guess part of your question, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
Part of your question, my brain just, part of the question, as was back in these town meetings 8 to 10 years ago, and the question I'm gonna ask is, what is that payment for?
My understanding.
Just asking.
This is just my understanding, I could be wrong. My understanding is that that is Massachusetts payment to us as the location for housing the dam,
Water control.
for controlling the
Okay,
water
good.
currently.
Does that answer your, what you're,
Yeah,
where you
yeah,
going?
I just didn't know how that worked and who was, kind of thinking about it.
These discussions, if you, and maybe you didn't, but I remember these discussions 10, 11, 20 years ago, when, and Dave would probably be able to tell you a lot better than me how long we've been getting this.
I wasn't here then.
But it,
I thought there was an issue somewhere where Mass was going to.
Yeah, yeah, there was.
review this. Thought they were gonna stop it.
Right, making the payments.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
I
the
remember
gentleman-
hearing that too.
the gentleman knows a lot
Because
about
hockey
it.
did the same thing.
And again, not that we don't try, because we do here, and I know Dave has a lot of knowledge on the budget, but the gentleman knows a lot about it and could explain it much better than any of us, would be George Cummings. And maybe you might wanna check in with him, because he knows how this all originated.
Yeah.
That's why I was asking you, because I thought it was, but I didn't wanna step ahead of it.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you very much. Sorry to,
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely.
good question.
All right, any further public comment or question? Before we
As
do
far
our-
as getting the information about the school board numbers, I would suggest giving her some time because she probably won't have the details. She'll need to reach out to Department of Education, or she's gonna give you the contact information to reach out.
Yep.
I
to them
understand
as
that
well.
they don't have a business manager at the moment. Do you know if that's different?
Who doesn't have a business manager?
Merrimack Valley.
I don't think that Merrimack Valley's gonna have the information you're looking for.
Oh,
When
I
I
was
asked
gonna
for
call them.
detail, when I asked for the detail on our tax rate and such, I was given a number and I shredded it, I don't have it anymore.
Oh.
Because the school board doesn't have that level of detail.
Okay, well, that's kind of.
And is my question,
Yes.
am I out of sorts in, sorry, Dave, am I out of sorts in asking that question? I mean, to me as a taxpayer.
no,
I mean, if it, feel free, because I'm open
No,
box
it's a
here.
valid question and you should be asking, how much
It's-
per pupil is
Yeah.
very important. She's
Well,
not
then we
gonna
can
have
check
that
our
detail.
Yeah,
Right.
so.
Make sure there's the right number.
Well, there's a reason to my craziness.
Right, I knew that's what you were
I
thinking.
realize it goes a little crazy, but there is a reason to my
Yeah.
rationale.
No,
But
I
also
heard you.
the breakdown of that percentage that they give us.
Yeah,
It's important to find out the
right.
breakdown.
You're the mathematician, I'm not, but I try to be a commonsensical guy, if you know what I'm trying
Yeah,
to say.
yes.
Try to think ahead of that curve. you know?
So the school system should and can, and I certainly hope will, provide us with how much of that number is for pupils, how much of that number is for capital.
Yes.
What
Well,
the school can't do, usually it's a problem while they're doing the budget and presenting the budget. What they can't do is tell you what the state is doing for equalization values, which is what affects our actual tax rate.
Right.
But that doesn't affect how much they collect from us dollars and cents wise. So,
yeah, what I
well,
was,
not too much. Some of it because of the capital, because that's equalized value.
And that's the state's contribution is what you're talking about.
No, so when the state says like, well, your tax values are 90% what they should be, and your neighbors are 70% what they should be, they equalize them, and that equalized value is what they use for calculating the percentage of how much you should pay towards the
And
school.
how that trickles down to the school. But I think as a community, we need to know more.
yes, we do. I
I'm
agree
just,
with you.
I'm not being adversarial toward the school district, I wanna be an
So-
informed, educated
Yeah,
selectman and taxpayer.
so they won't be able to tell us the equalization part.
No,
but
no, I
they
get you.
can definitely tell us the rest of it.
How much is that child, student costing to go to school? That shouldn't be too hard to.
That was actually
But
part of the
also, the
budgeting.
largest increase I saw, the
I don't
largest
remember.
percentage increase I saw was capital. So what I wanted to know was what capital improvements they had planned for Webster.
Right.
Because Webster was much higher than the other towns, and there are many other towns that have more pupils than we do.
Have you seen
So
anything done
what's
to
the
that school?
capital? Huh?
Have you seen anything done to that school? I haven't.
Well,
A lot of it's been internal.
Okay.
If you go to Merrimack Valley, this is one of the things that I love about Fred, who's over there, who's the facilities guy.
Yep, he's a decent person.
He is one of the few people who has his entire plan put publicly on their website.
That's really
So if you go over to maintenance and facilities, you can go down to the capital improvement plan, and he's got 10 years of projects out for
Nice.
all of the buildings. And you can follow along with what he's hoping for, which he's not gonna get this year because of the budget changes, but,
And
capital
so,
improvements more than just buildings though. And that's why I wanted to
but
go
yeah, that's the
and
large
find out
facilities.
what exactly they're
I
planning
think
for
we're
Webster.
saying the same thing, maybe a little differently. And-
Yes.
And I don't want something built, if you need to replace a furnace, I get it, or emergency and safety stuff, I get that.
Yeah.
But I don't want something built when those funds need to be going towards student education, special needs or whatnot,
Right,
where they should be better placed. Do you see where I'm?
yeah.
Mhm.
And I don't, admittedly, I don't have that education and knowledge.
Yeah.
I will have it,
Mhm.
but you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
I'm with you.
We put up a tent, they go on the lawn.
Just
But you
to
would-
follow along with that.
But no,
um,
agreed, 100%.
One of the things that the previous superintendent used to do was to invite the board to go to a meeting prior to the budget hearings to discuss their thinking on the budgets, where things were going, why they were going, what other things in town we could do to help mitigate it, or that we might need, or, for example, we got a bridge out, so they may have to change bus routes.
Well, there you go.
Those sorts of things.
Capital.
That has not happened with the current superintendent. I did request that when the new superintendent for next year was there, and it was received very well, so hopefully we will have that before the next budgeting, but that'll be, another year from
And I
now.
would sincere that you've educated yourself really well on it, and I get that. We all should be educated.
So
on it.
hopefully they
Yeah.
will help us to have
Yep.
that discussion. so that we will all know that,
Yep.
hopefully.
Well,
But some of it is not easy to find.
right.
So, and it should be. So, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, any further public comments? All right, let's get our signing and such done. I know we did some of it with the trustees and with the school payment. Do we
Well-
have further?
This is last week's payroll that I only had one select board member sign off on it. I'm very disappointed in the other two members.
Oh my god. I leave too early and I get home too late.
Oh, he already did
John
it.
signed it.
That's, thank you.
I dragged myself in here late Friday afternoon, so they.
Attaboy.
I paid the postage for postage.
How often do we do that?
Well, it depends on how much they're
They-
mailing, and lately they've mailed the tax bills and
Oh,
everything.
this one isn't
else.
as much as some of the others. I've
No,
seen,
that
so.
one's a little less.
So do we wait until a certain dollar amount, or is it, like, how does that work?
The postage machine runs out of postage and we have to fill it.
Well, that's,
So we
It's
usually,
like, do we-
Is that how it
do
works?
we put only a certain amount in, or like?
well, I asked them to put it in $300 increments, because if I don't, they charge us an extra $1.50. And sometimes they charge that anyway, but,
Well, it's a good thing.
you know.
Just while I think of it, since I haven't noticed seeing a bill for it, where are we with the trees, for example, for across the street at the memorial?
Well, we're not doing very well. I walked over there today, the trees are still there. So,
Like,
that's
do
why
we
we
have
don't
a
have it.
date that they're coming, or like, are they
I
waiting on
asked Brenda
something from
about it the
us?
other day, and she said she would check into it.
Okay,
So, I'm sorry, I don't know, but,
These are the cemetery trees.
no, these
In the
are
park.
the trees in the park. There are several trees in the park.
Because
that-
I know they've got them marked in the cemetery, just so you folks know, they've got them marked in the
Yeah,
cemetery.
they're marked over at the park as well. That's all I have for signing.
okay, any further motions or similar that we need to take care of?
Minutes.
Ah, yes. Has everybody had a chance to look at the minutes?
I didn't see any spell checks, but I could be wrong.
It was pretty quick meeting.
Ah, yes, this was our tax warrant one.
that was the. Sure. I just, I was the lucky
Through
side.
the non-public one.
That looked pretty good.
Yep, okay.
I did notice in there, selectmen's appointment, I am the guy I am the board member that's with the fire department and all that stuff. I didn't know if that was a misprint, or because we agreed on that at the first meeting, but maybe I missed something.
What did it say?
I'm going to get that for you.
Because I'm probably the one that.
No, I'm not being critical, I just, it almost made it sound like that appointment took place at the last meeting when it actually
Oh.
took place at the,
I think I called it the liaison.
okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe I misread it, you correct me if I'm wrong.
And maybe, that's just the title that I
Okay,
gave
no,
it, I
yeah,
guess.
okay,
Yeah,
all right, gotcha. But I spoke in the guy.
yeah.
Okay, gotcha, thank
Yeah.
you. No problem.
Yeah, I don't happen to notice that one there. Okay. Yeah, I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes as written unless there are amendments.
I second that.
Sure. Okay, so I guess I moved that.
Oh, I thought you were moving it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All these words.
Okay, and that appears to conclude our written agenda. Is there anything further?
I need 3 non-public sessions,
We're
Yeah.
getting busy.
and I think there was someone that would like to ask if they could have a non-public session.
Okay.
Please.
So what are the 3 sections of Not the numbers, but like, are we talking personnel, reputation?
Personnel, all
All
of
our
them.
personnel?
All of them,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there,
Except for, I believe, reputation.
I'm a reputation person.
so I think the person who is, if I might, correct, we can handle the other things, let's not keep the person who is waiting.
Absolutely.
Do you want us to go so you can do it?
Well, you know,
No, I know what non-public means. If you can get things done.
We were gonna talk
I
about.
wanna make sure they can carry on if we leave.
Have a good night, folks.
see you guys, thanks for coming.
See you tomorrow.
So I'm gonna go,
What do we need to, because normally we would have topics in front of us and knowledge, what are we
The
talking
topics that I'm gonna talk to you about is, we have talked about them before. And I will tell you what they are.
about? Okay,
But that's
Yeah.
things you know about.
And my topic, you don't need any prep for,
okay.
But it's reputation, so.
yeah.
So normally we require that we have stuff on a agenda
Right, I
request
did
ahead of
talk to
time,
Teresa about
so that we
yeah.
don't get surprised by
Right,
people. So I leave it up to the board whether they would like to entertain this now.
Sure.
I'm okay with it.
Okay. In that
Can they
case,
turn the camera off?
yes, we
well,
will.
we're going to, they gotta make the motion.
So I would move to go into non-public session at 8:04 for reputation. And for everybody else, once this is approved, the stream and everything will be gone. We will not resume a stream. We will briefly come back into public session to go back into non-public session for the personnel issues, and then to come close the meeting after those. So there will be no further public business or resumption of the stream. We do need a roll call for that, so we would need a second as well.
I will make a second to that.
Okay, so seconded by John, so roll call, Dave Hemingway, yes?
John Clark, yes?
Marlo Herrick, yes.